I'm going to run you guys through on how I like to apply my Saint Cream makeup. I like to start with a clean face. I have more oily skin, so I find it works best applying the makeup to a clean face. No moisturizer, no primer, nothing. I find moisturizer and primer sometimes just messes with the makeup. If you have more dry skin, then you might need a moisturizer. But try a few things, see what works for you. For me, with an oilier skin, I like no moisturizer under. I'm just gonna try and find my brush here. Okay, I like to use the multitasker brush to apply my makeup. It gives me a really good, precise application. I don't use too much product. There's no wasted product. It's my favorite way. So what I really like to do is I like to start with a cream illuminator. This is the shade Nova. I like to put this all over my face, and this is just gonna even out my skin tone and give me a really glowy base. It also helps give, just like really evens out my acne. It totally just, then I'm gonna go in with my brush. This is a 3D brush. I recommend this for all of my customers because it's one of my favorites, and I'm just gonna blend this in, doing kind of a pressing and tapping motion. And you can see how it just kind of gives my skin this evened out tone and eliminates okay, now that we've got that base applied, I'm gonna go in with my concealer color. This is the shade Palace, and I really like to apply it this way because these makeups are cream. So the most common question I get asked is, mine is more stiff, it doesn't want to blend as easy, and it's probably because these creams are too cold. So it's best to apply them like this. Then I'm going to go into my main color. This is the shade Amber. It's best to apply them like this and let them sit on your skin before you blend them. If you pick them right up with your 3D brush and try and blend it right away, it's just not gonna, you're not as gonna get as good of a blend. And then Cedar Contour, I'm going to apply just right here. You're just not gonna get as good of a blend, and it's just gonna be stiffer and cold. So it's best if you apply it to your skin like this, let it sit there, and then the warmth of your skin is gonna heat up the makeup. It's gonna be more creamy, it's gonna blend better. So that's kind of like my biggest piece of advice there. If your makeup's not blending, it's looking muddy, it's looking blotchy, apply it like this and let it. Another thing you can do is if your makeup's feeling dry, it's feeling blotchy, it's not blending super good, once you've got it on like this, spray your face with setting spray. That'll kind of activate it, give it a bit of hydration. I don't usually do this, but if you're really feeling like your makeup's kind of dry and patchy, then you could do a quick spray like this. Now we're gonna go back in with our 3D brush and we're gonna start to blend. I always start with the foundation color first. I try and go from light to dark, and the key with blending this makeup is just doing a little stippling, tapping motions. If you get to blending and smearing, it's just gonna be patchy and not cover as good. So this is gonna give you max coverage and like best use of product. Just really stipple and push that into your skin. You can see kind of, I'm not smearing it around, I'm just doing little tapping motions, and it really blends in, and it's gonna blur your pores, it's gonna give good coverage. This is honestly the best method. And then for the under eyes especially, you just really want to pat that in, especially if you struggle with some under eye discoloration or texture. Just really push that product into your under eye, and it'll give you the most coverage with the least amount of product possible, because you don't want this to look cakey. And we're just gonna finish out blending these light colors, and you can see when the makeup's warm, it blends in literally like butter. So if your makeup's not blending, it's probably too cold. Contour, I get a lot of people saying their contour looks muddy, blotchy. Don't overdo it. You just want to literally tap it in, and it's gonna blend in really seamlessly. But if you over blend it, if you get smearing it, then it's gonna look muddy, and it's gonna just make your face look like a patchy bruise. Also, one thing I feel like can really make this makeup look patchy is if you're wearing moisturizer under it. Like if you're wearing any type of product under your makeup, it'll just prevent the makeup from setting in properly. So I always recommend just applying it to a clean face. Wash your face in the morning with water and let it dry and apply it to like that. Because I find if you get too much product under the makeup, it's just gonna make it really kind of patchy and weird. This makeup, honestly, I feel like less is more. And you can see I'm just like softly working in that line until it's soft, until it's softened, until there's no harsh, and just little tapping motions. And then we've got this nice glowy base. Everything's blended in really seamlessly and smoothly. We'll finish up with bronzer and blush. And if you know me, I struggle with a bit of acne, and I find to get the best coverage for this acne, I just apply all my makeup. Any blemishes that are still kind of peeking through after I've blended, I'll just go back in with this brush, a little bit of my main shade, and I'm just gonna literally barely apply any, that was too much, and just like tap it in. And then what I'll do is I'll go in with a loose powder and I'll just apply some powder to those blemishes, and then it literally locks it in. It doesn't look cakey, and you've got good coverage that'll last all day. You can use any loose powder you want. I'm using this Laura Mercier translucent loose setting powder, but don't go powder your whole face. Just like literally go in and tap those blemishes with a little bit of powder. It'll give you the kind of most effective coverage without it. To finish up this look, we're gonna go into our bronzer. And another question I get asked a lot, I'm trying to answer the most asked questions I get, my frequently asked questions, is what's the difference between bronzer and contour? Contour is a cool ashy shade that's going to give your face definition, whereas bronzer is it's a sheer shade, so there's no coverage in bronzer, and it's going to give you warmth versus that definition. They go in the same spot, but don't overthink it. Bronzer gives warmth, contour gives shape, and contour also has coverage. So the thing with Saint makeup is there's no like layer of foundation. You are using the contour, the brightening highlight, and the main highlight to make up a full face of makeup and make up your foundation, but we're using different colors to give it a three-dimensional look, so we don't just have this flat, ghostly looking foundation look. So that's kind of the thing with Saint, is you don't put a whole foundation color on your whole face. Like, our main highlight is technically our foundation color because it's like our skin color, but we're using 3 different colors to give a full face of makeup look with full coverage, but like really good definition and in shape to your face. So yeah, bronzer brings in the warmth, gives you brings that color and pigment back into your skin, and it doesn't have any coverage. Okay, to finish up this look, I'm just gonna go in with some blush. I've been really liking mixing Baby Watermelon with Wildflower lately. It's like a really pretty pink. The blushes, they are lip and cheek color. There's satin blushes, which are more of a pigmented blush, and then there's gloss blushes, which are more of a lip gloss or a more natural cheek blush. So I like the glosses for my lips and the satins for my cheeks, personally. I put the shade Sadie on my lips, and then back in with a 3D brush, and we will just blend out this blush, and that'll be it. You can set your face with powder if you want. If you're more oily, you might want to set your T-zone in your chin, or you can just rock and roll with no powder. It's totally up to you. It's totally preference. It's totally on the look you want. Powder will help give you a bit more of a longer lasting matte look. No powder, it's going to be a bit more glowy, a bit more dewy by the end of the day, for sure, especially if you're more oily. But that's kind of a breakdown of how I do my Saint Cream makeup, and hopefully that was helpful. It's a very pretty makeup, very skin-like makeup. It's very quick, very easy, and even when I run you through it in full speed, I still think this video will be less than 15 minutes just because it's so quick and effective and just like really good makeup. And yeah. And what?
Passwords, bank accounts.